Well, here's our corn. It's all grown up. Amazing, isn't it? And our hemp hoop house.
This lady has 8 kids.
What will happen is there's not enough pollen to cover a lot of the silk, and so then you get the corn that has missing pieces or is missing like the teeth. Our corn is probably maybe a little bit too dense. You know, in future, if you're doing a home garden, in some areas our corn's a little dense, and what happens then, it becomes a little bit more prone to toppling. And what happens is, like, we had that windstorm, and actually if we walk down, you would see there's a section of the corn inside that got like knocked down, and it kind of does like a domino effect. And so and you can see a few that are on the ground. Hopefully, corn isn't very good at righting itself and picking itself back up, but hopefully we might be able to, when we harvest, look on the ground too to see if there's some ears down there that we can salvage. They won't be great, but for gardeners, we're not really concerned about the marketable size and things like that.
Good morning.
I think
Ready
we're
to
still
plant
probably
yourself?
on for that 17th. I think that's what we had originally said. Near as I can tell, it's going to be about the right time. Generally, one of the things is you can predict when you plant, and then it's usually about 21 days after tasseling is starting. So 19 to 21 days.
And was that how it is?
Yeah, we were pretty close.
Good job.
I think, you know, I did do that third application, so the corn still looks like it's dark green or has a good green color. That's important, even though we're moving on to the stage where we're producing the fruit of the crop. But having adequate nitrogen helps it finish in a timely manner.
What makes it sweeter?
Sweeter is generally, you know, some people would attribute the potassium or something that's involved in sugar.
Did you add potassium?
Yeah, we added remember we did the K-Mag, potassium and magnesium. There's probably not like just one thing, it's a combination of things. And then part of it too is allowing the crop to ripen and harvesting at the proper stage. Corn is really, it's important, especially with these varieties. Nowadays they have some special sweet corn that have certain genes that keep the sugar from converting into starches, and so it stays sweeter longer. But I'm not sure if this one has that. I don't believe it does have those sugar enhancing genes. So what we need to do is, after we harvest, we want to harvest when it's cool, and then ideally we cool the crop down really quickly, because there's something they call field heat.
Oh, okay.
And so if you harvest in the heat of the day and your corn's hot and it's all stacked together, it's like cooking it kind of, or something like that. And so that encourages sugar transformation more into a starchy.
Did you try to plant the Inca one, the one with different colors?
I haven't. UH used to have a purple kind of one. I've never grown. You know, they have a few different varieties. They have a silver one, but they actually used to have a really kind of a pretty one. The stalks and the ear itself was more purple. But inside the kernels, I don't think were purple.
Sweet
I've never grown blue corn. I don't think blue corn is really super sweet.
No, it isn't.
It's more for use it for the tortillas. But yeah, I think more or less we should, barring another bad area, it's still fertile. Just based on how all the weeds are growing, you know, maybe some of our compost teas.
And did we plant the marigold or you did?
I planted the zinnias and stuff from the inside. I just wanted to kind of use. Hopefully I can, when I clean up this area and get it ready for school, hopefully I can save those.
Yeah. This looks really pretty.
Yeah, the flowers are nice.
You're gonna just weed whack. I mean, how is it?
Yeah, you know, weed whacking would be a nice option.
Poison.
I'm
One with a
you know,
poison.
Ew.
I'll be honest with you guys.
No, no.
Close your ears, Nona.
I'm gonna
I'm
go
going to
away.
use
Ah!
glyphosate. Don't tell Elaine. Okay. But Roundup has a really bad reputation, and I will admit that it's overused in agriculture, but it is also a tool of production, and it could have a use if you, it's faster than weed whacking. Weed whacking has an environmental impact, in my opinion, fuel and things like that, the oil and the atmosphere. But really, when you look at it, the molecule itself, it has, what did they call it? It has a lot of OHs, and then it has a nitrogen and a phosphorus. And so, like the elements that are in it are oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, phosphorus. And I could show you guys what the molecule looks like. So in reality, a lot of times what happens is the surfactants and the things like that that are included with it are more toxic to the environment than the actual.
The things.
They add it to the surfactant to make it work better, and things like that are actually better. I'm not a proponent, I don't think we should be using it and drinking it or anything like that, but at the same time, we have to recognize if I'm responsible for maintaining this area,
I'll just talk to them about hiring assistance from you.
yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So I can be more organic.
So if you sprayed it here, won't it leach to the soil where we're going to be eating the food?
Yeah, I wouldn't spray this area until
After harvest?
after harvest or something.
But it would be in the soil.
It
No.
actually, we can talk about the.
How do you know? The worms
Read the
probably.
paper. It says it'll neutralize when it touches the soil itself.
Has a
Oh, wow.
pretty good strength. What I wanted to just do is pull it up and show you that these are actually the nodules here. So that's the symbiosis that takes place. And ideally, if we were more carefully dug it up, you would see nodulation everywhere. And so that's the symbiotic effect of a rhizobacterium with the root system of this plant. And so that's what's actually helping to fix the nitrogen gas from the atmosphere and make it available to the plant.
Oh, the flowers.
Yep, starting to flower.
The yellow one did.
So my hope for this area is we're actually going to kind of either push it down or mow it down, and then we're going to actually plant plants into it and kind of go a no-till strategy this year.
Okay.
So we're going to use this as a thick, above the soil surface cover, and we're going to use.
And just make holes for the other
yeah,
one.
and then we're going to have like small plants that are ready to be transplanted. We're going to put that in.
What you think of planting? What you're gonna plant?
I haven't really decided yet. We've grown corn here several times, so I probably won't go corn here this year. We'll probably do the corn in that field over there. We try and grow corn for Thanksgivings.
Oh.
We usually do 2 weeks. So I would think maybe some of our other vegetables, or I was even hoping maybe some of our greens and maybe some herbs. We could try and do that because a lot of those we transplant. It's Crotalaria junkia is the scientific name.
Doesn't smell
There,
like
it's a nitrogen fixer. Yeah, so it's in the bean family, so it's a nitrogen fixer. There is an issue with that product would remain in the soil and be taken up by any other plants in the subsequent growth cycle. I did find some interesting stuff where there's certain insects that will feed on the leaves, and then they take that compound into themselves and use it as a defense mechanism, things like that, which is kind of cool. But I haven't found any studies that show that there's a danger with subsequent crops growing from it. So I feel pretty safe. And it's really a crop that's recommended by the Soil Conservation Service. So in some of our other, like alfalfa or clovers, aren't as adapted to our environment as they're not really a tropical kind of plant. So this seems to be And really, more than the nitrogen, what I'm looking for is a way to get more biomass onto our crop. Because more than the nitrogen, when you look at our soil, there's really not very much organic material in it. And if we're trying to create a more diverse soil ecosystem, we really need organic matter. So hopefully, in time, I would like to grow this kind of on a continual basis when we don't have a crop there. That's probably one of our better. Last year we had, in the winter months, there's actually a disease that kind of came in and defoliated it. So it looks pretty happy this.
The winter.
And of course too, it probably is subject to day length as well. We planted it in the spring semester, and it's still really short days, and it got pretty tall. So. Anyway, that's what's going on here. So I guess it's a little bit longer, but you would definitely want to check it in another 2 or 3 weeks. Because the one thing you don't want is to get it just like filled with roots, because then it's going to start to really become an effective root system, and it will take all the moisture up, and then you can actually get your plant to wilt because it's stopped using resources from the tree.
So you let the roots grow longer than that?
Yeah, I would, normally I would let it go a little bit longer, just so there's more root mass, because if you look up here, I've got a lot of tissue up there to balance with it. So when we cut this off, we have to baby this. We can't just cut this off and stick it in the ground. Certain ornamental trees we could do that with. This one, we might even cut it off now and cut back some of the leaf tissue or something like that.
Are you going to put plastic or no? Just the
I'm
oil?
just going to remove this.
Going. You're all 10.
Alright.
Oh, by hand bite the roots.
Good job. Thank you very much. How come you're cutting? You want to
Because
branch
I
it?
don't want too much leaf material because I got only a tiny bit of roots. So it's just a way to reduce the stress and improve the likelihood of
Success.
it taking. Because really, at this point, we've saved ourselves 3 years. So if we set it back a little bit, that's not a big deal. So I would cut it back like something like this. Put it in a shady area. Sometimes you could get it misty, or cover it with a big kind of humidity dome or something if it was a little smaller. Really you could get by with just one. Like having a double branch isn't really any real advantage. And at some point you're going to have to remove that anyway, because this is kind of a dysfunctional tree, right? To have it like that.
So how soon would this fruit?
Probably within a couple years, I would say. I wouldn't try and push it to fruit too early because it's a small tree and things like that. But it has tissue that has matured, so it's gone through its juvenility period and things like that. So it has the capacity to fruit when it's physically able to.
So you said you wouldn't just go ahead and plant this. What would you put it in?
I would put it in a pot and put it near the house or in a really shady area. Kind of like what we've done with the avocado tree in there that we grafted. I would put it in there, or I would put it on this bench.
Do you have to cover the roots now?
Yeah, I actually might. Yeah, I shouldn't be. I should do this fairly quickly. I would actually probably just pick one of these two, whichever one seemed better.
This has more growth.
Yeah, I think I might just pick this. Just because when I plant it, I want a tree that's a tree kind of, and then this will be about the right height to start encouraging the right branching and things like that.
Nice. So we put it in the greenhouse for you.
Yeah. Or if you guys want to.
Are you gonna check mine?
Yeah, we can check yours. Hold this much water, right? That's kind of what we're trying to see. But for just as a visual thing, we should be able to see which ones hold more water, and which ones hold less water, and things like that.
So this did not hold that
So
much.
the cinders, you know, in theory, the cinder and the perlite should hold the least amount of water. And our peat moss and maybe the cocoa.
Will hold.
Yeah, and the peat moss should actually hold more water than the coconut because the coconut is bigger and chunkier.
Oh,
So unless the coconut is really swelling or something like that, we should, because there should be bigger pore spaces, that should drain away. That's the principle that we kind of discussed a little bit in class is if we have big chunky material like this, when it sits together, there's the bigger pockets of space, and those bigger pockets of space, the water will drain by gravity. Whereas if it's really fine, like this peat, the pocket sizes are smaller, and the water will hold based on the surface tension, or the what is that? Adhesion. Yeah, adhesion. Thank you. So anyway, we'll see if that comes out to be true or not. And in some of our cases where we're mixing the cinder and the peat and then some compost, that should be kind of an intermediary effect where we should have kind of an in-between. But we would like to think if we were at all accurate side of here, so like if you pop it open, you see that there's little pockets and pores, and you know, it's like cotton candy all the way through or something. But a lot of those pores are kind of closed, so the water can't really get in there and hold to it. So it's not like these pores are really actively holding moisture because they're kind of blocked off. But anyway, that's kind of a quick way. And we're starting to see, I think already, these probably aren't going to be the best for pouring, but this is number one. This will just be our tear. Remember we started it with it zeroed out, so we need to tear. So now it weighs 91 grams. And so in the 91 grams of wet, and we started with 329. Because that was it's our wet weight, and we started with our
Oh, okay, so that's
our 29 milliliters. So
the 63
So-
2 is what?
91 minus 29, 62 grams. So 62 milliliters of water is available in there, or it's still in there. It's probably not completely available. And of that 400, 238 of it is just pure airspace.
Okay.
So if we think about that as far as like a reservoir for water or plants to grow on, we have to water very frequently. But this tells us also with all this airspace, it would be ideal for like a epiphytic plant or something like that, where it likes a lot of oxygen around its roots, or it tends to be more sensitive to prolonged wetting or something like that. So